Hello, it's Angela, and welcome back to my channel, Literature Science Alliance. And today, I'm excited. I'm going to do a tag video that I was posthumously tagged in by Grace from Beautiful Bookworm, and it is the board game book tag. So if you don't know, my other hobby, besides reading books, is playing board games. I love board games. I have a lot of board games. I have a board game problem. And so when I saw someone made this tag, I just knew I had to do it. And now Grace and I are friends, and BookTube's great. So I really wanted to do this tag, so let's just dive right in. So the first prompt is about Catan, which is a gateway game. A gateway game is a game you would use to help people go from marketplace games like Sorry or things like that to indie hobby board games. So what is a book that got you into a genre? And I know I say this a lot in a lot of my videos, but it really has to be Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Now, before I read Elantris, I had only really read adult and middle grade fantasy. Elantris was my first adult fantasy book, and once I picked that up, I have basically only read adult fantasy. It was my gateway into it, and I also feel like in general, Sanderson books are gateway adult fantasy book for people. They're very accessible. They're very easy to get immersed in. And so, yeah. And I gush about Elantris all the time. It's one of my favorites. So, yeah, if you've read it, please let me know, because it's a severely underrated Brandon Sanderson book. So yeah, that is Catan. Now, the next game is Balderdash, which is a really silly party game where you learn things, but in a weird way. So someone's trying to make you guess if, like, the law or something they're talking about is true or not. It's a silly time. So what's a book that was funny, but you learned something? And I had to spend a lot of time thinking about this, but I came up with The Martian by Andy Weir. And I say that because I laughed a lot while I read this book. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, you learn a lot about space. Like, I think the integration of science into that science fiction, along with the humor of the protagonist, was excellently done. So I'm going with The Martian. Now, the third prompt is Smallworld. It's a small world after all. This is a board game where you have your own race with a special ability and you're trying to take over land, and invariably someone's going to fight you for that land, and you're going to have to get a new race because that race died. It's really just about trying to conquer, and there are endless battles. So what's a book with really good fight scenes or battle scenes? And I had to go with The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I think that's how you say it. I think I'm getting better. And the reason I picked this is one thing I was thinking when I was first reading this book in the fall is how much, so I'm not a very visual reader, but the way the fight scenes were written in this book, I really could see the movements of Geralt while he was in a fight with the monster. So I thought that was really good. So for me, this is a really well-written fight scene monster hunter book. Just because typically I glaze over that, I can't see it, but in that book, I could. All right, next board game, Sheriff of Nottingham. So this is a play off of Robin Hood, where you are, trying to smuggle goods into a town per se. In that board game, you're trying to bluff and be like, I totally only have 3 cheese, when really maybe you have some contraband. And you're trying to pay off the sheriff to, look the other way. So this one's supposed to be what is your best heist book. And I didn't want to say another Sanderson, because obviously Mistborn's great. And of course there's Lies of Locke-Lamora, which someone's already talked about. But I am landing on Foundry Side because the sequel comes out soon, and I think that's a great heist book. So Foundry Side is about this woman. She's a thief, and she has this really cool ability that if she touches an object, she knows its history. It actually is a thing she hates about herself. It's not very useful in terms of forming relationships. And in order to get herself out of trouble because she's stolen something she shouldn't, they have to form bonds and do this big heist, and it's a great read. I highly recommend it. My mom's reading it now and having a wonderful time. It's a great book, and the second book comes out very soon. All right, Manopoly. Now this one, when she was writing the prompt, Grace was like, you know, lots of stocks, lots of rent and mortgages. And I thought maybe she was gonna go for what's a book that's, you know, very economy based or, you know, something like that. But instead she goes, what's a book that represents your real life? And well, I don't read books that are like my real life. Contemporary is not my genre, but I had decided to go with the nonfiction range. Now, this book is a book I picked up last year, and it's great. It's about how you actually don't need to hyper-specialize to be successful at what you're good at or what you end up pursuing. The idea of, you know, the Tiger Woods or the Roger Federer way of training. And that having a broad range of skills and ideas and just passions is really actually beneficial to almost anything you could pursue. And I really loved that. And as someone who is 27 and really doesn't know what she's doing, who has majored in physics and has a PhD in biology, who started a booktube channel, it was really nice to have a book really speak to who I am in terms of someone who does like to have a broad range of interests. So I think that's what I'm going to choose. And then Seven Wonders. This is a cool card game where you're building up a civilization. It's pretty dope. And so this one's prompt is name a book with really good world building. And I'm going to have to say the Inheritance Trilogy. Sorry, it's been in like every video, but I don't care. It's the Inheritance Trilogy. That world is so cool. I have a great time with it. I literally just downloaded the last set of novellas just so I could go back into that world. So for me right now, that world building is amazing, and amazing how we get to explore it, not only through the characters, but through time, like through hundreds of years. I get to see this world evolve, and that is fascinating. So yeah, Inheritance Trilogy, go read it. I love it. You should read it so we can talk. Oh, right. Oh, so this one's Pandemic, which is a board game about how you prevent a pandemic. And so she took this an interesting way. So I'm not supposed to give you a book that's about a pandemic. I'm supposed to give you a book about a squad of friends, because in this board game, it's a cooperative game. So you're working together with people to solve this problem. So squad of friends. I had some thoughts. So I just finished Renegades. So I thought maybe that, but honestly, there's a lot of deceit in that friend group. So instead, I went with the Blackguard, specifically Kip's group from the Lightbringer series. I don't think they might form in the first book. I really just reread these, but I don't know if it was the first or second. But when Kip joins the Blackguard, he has a great group of friends. They are really fun, and it's pretty organic and well done. So that's what I'm choosing. This series is a really good, accessible writing style with fun magic system. And now that it's all out, I can highly recommend it because I enjoyed the conclusion, and you won't have to wait for cliffhangers like I did. So yeah. And the last board game is Ticket to Ride. This is a great game. Been playing it with my friends on the app. It's a game where you connect routes on a board using cards that have the same color as the tracks. It's a really great game. I've had it go over great with grandparents and with children. I'm just saying it's a great family game, so if you are looking, highly recommend. But it's supposed to be a book that takes you on a ride. So I went with The Great Alone because, man, did I go on an emotional roller coaster with that book. I have a vlog where you can literally just see my reaction after I finished it. It just floored me. The ups, the downs, the tension, I was just all in. It was awesome. So yeah, that is the board game book tag. If you have any questions about board games, please ask me. I am probably about as insane about giving board game recommendations as I am book recommendations. It's a hobby I am very passionate about. Now, to tag people. First, I'm going to tag Ramsey from Rajathon because we've been talking about board games. So sorry if a lot of these aren't board games you know, but I feel like the prompts are still really fun. And I'm also going to tag Kayla from Cracking Into a Good Book because we've talked about board games in our comment sections. And I think that's all I'm going to tag because I don't talk about board games a lot, so I don't actually know who's good with it and who's not. But if you do like board games and you just haven't said it, comment below and I can posthumously, tag you. It's not a big deal. I think it's a really fun tag. So yeah, well, with that, like I said, you can like, you subscribed, you can do nothing. I just hope you have a great day.